All right, and here we go. I'm going to start in one, two, three. Hello and welcome to Neuro Challenge Foundation for Parkinson's Disease. We're so happy that you're here today. We're going to hear a really great presentation on the Sandwich Generation Family Caregiver Guide by Synergy Home Care. I've just been talking with Kenneth here. I actually have to change his name on his screen. It says Michael, but this is Kenneth. I just noticed that. We're really excited because I was just talking with him and he has a wealth of information for how caregivers and care partners can get the support they need as they're caring for their loved one with a chronic illness, like Parkinson's. So for those of you who don't know about NeuroChallenge, let me just introduce you to us. We are a small nonprofit that serves the Southwest region of Florida. However, since the pandemic, we went, global, national. Everybody was pivoting and doing virtual programs, and we did too. And we serve a much wider audience now. With our virtual offerings like these webinars. This is being recorded today, so it will live on our YouTube channel over the next 30 days. We'll get it on there. So if you miss anything, then you can catch up with it later. But I also wanted to let you know that NeuroChallenge offers all kinds of programs. We serve people with Parkinson's and their care partners and their family members with educational resources. We run and we facilitate support groups, and we also partner with local agencies and businesses to bring therapeutic programs to the Parkinson's community at no charge. Everything we do is 100% free to the people in the Parkinson's community and their care partners. And we also offer a very unique service called care advising. Care advising is where, let's say you just got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease from your neurologist, and you need a little bit more information and you'd like somebody to kind of go over what your next steps are. That's what NeuroChallenge does. So give us a call. You can see that right there is our information above my head, but also just go to neurochallenge.org to get more information. Now, let me introduce you a little bit to not Michael, but Kenneth. All right, let's see. Kenneth Gregson is the founding partner of Synergy HomeCare of Bradenton. Ken is not only the owner, he's also a trained home health aide who has personally provided care for clients with Parkinson's and Parkinson's-related dementia, as well as many other chronic conditions. Before starting Synergy Home Care, Ken spent 5 years as the senior pastor of Central Christian Church in Bradenton, where he gained experience providing personal care for adults living with developmental and intellectual disabilities and counseled several individuals and families living with challenges of a loved one experiencing dementia. Prior to moving to Manatee County, Ken spent 8 years on the board of directors, 3 as the board chair for Arc Broward, and nonprofit in Fort Lauderdale, serving 1,200 families with dozens of programs from preschool to seniors living with disabilities and other life challenges. So without further ado, Kenneth.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that introduction. I'm so glad to be with you all here today to talk about something that is real, and I'm sure many of you are experiencing in your own personal lives. It's called the sandwich generation, and being a family care provider, family caregiver. We're going to be talking about, let's see if this slide will advance. There we go. We're going to be talking about aging in place. Who are these family caregivers that are helping our parents mostly? What is this sandwich generation? Is it just a bunch of people who like to eat bologna sandwiches or maybe spam? No. So when you realize your parents or you think your parents need some help or a spouse needs some help, what preparation might you do or should you do before caregiving even starts? And then what are some of the important things once we're actually doing the care and providing care for a loved one? Some of the challenges that come up and how to deal with them. And where does this progress? Especially with chronic conditions like Parkinson's, you know that things are going to advance and progress. So what's this care continuum that I can look forward to, and what kind of support can I get there? And then wrapping up with just a little bit about Synergy Home Care. So aging in place, defined by the CDC, is the ability to live in one's own home or community safely, independently, and comfortably, regardless of the age or income or ability level. That's what most people want to do. They want to stay in their home. They hear about these nursing home nightmares, especially coming out of the early 2020s with the pandemic and what happened in the nursing homes then. And they don't want to go to a nursing home. They want to age right where they live. And that is super important in today's world and aging demographics. We've got like 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day. Every day, 10,000 more turn 65. And that's going to keep at that pace until the mid 2030s. 93% of those surveyed 55 or older really rate aging in place and staying in their own home as a very important goal as they age. Some things that we're going to be, terms we're going to use and some things we're going to be talking about are defined here. Activities of daily living. You hear that in terms at facilities or care providers that come. You might have heard those terms from long-term care insurance, because long-term care insurance, for those who are blessed enough to have it, don't kick in until you can't do at least 2 or 3 of these by yourself. So the major ones are bathing, dressing, eating, toileting, transferring up and down, in and out of bed, or in and out of the wheelchair or a chair. Anytime you need help with any of those, or continence issues. We're going to talk about accessibility, and that is a product or service, whether it be a care service that is accessible and being able to be available for people with not only physical, but developmental or intellectual differences and challenges as well. Companion care, you'll hear a little bit about that. Generally around conversation, social activities, helping with some light exercise or light housekeeping, doing errands or medicine reminders. And then personal care. And personal care is when one of our loved ones needs some help with one of those activities of daily living that we really need to touch them and put our hands on them to help them. And then where they need more than just a reminder with medicine, they actually need some assistance with self-administering the medicine. And a concept, hopefully, that you're familiar with called person-centered care. Well, when we're talking about person-centered care, we're talking about care being delivered that puts the care recipient first, and what their goals are, what their vision is, what their desires are, and takes into account their cultural preferences. Sometimes those that we care for are grew up in a different culture than we did, right? Whether that's a mother-in-law or a father-in-law that grew up in a different culture, and we've got to take that into account. And they may have different feelings about who can give them personal care, who can help them with things like bathing or incontinence issues, and how to go about doing that. So the really taking their cultural context into account is part of person-centered care. And then communication and collaborative communication with them, and including, and not just the kids deciding what's best for mom and dad, but having a collaborative discussion with mom and dad. So those are all part of the terms and the things that we're going to be talking about a little bit today. Oops, let's see if we can go down here. Now, family caregivers. There's 53 million of them that are providing unpaid care to a loved one. Huge amount. Typically, on average, I mean, it ranges greatly, but on average, it's a 49-year-old woman helping a loved one who's 69 or older, and doing that, providing that care 20 hours a week or more. Now, that's a lot to work 20 hours a week and not get paid for it. Many mothers will say, I've been there, I've done that. I've been doing that the whole time my kid was being raised in my house, right? Well, that's what the sandwich generation is a little bit about. The sandwich generation it consists of people who are balancing the responsibilities of caring for both children and parents. And many of them also have a job. And they're trying to do all of that. The compounding responsibilities create some really unique challenges, but opportunities also to engage and support those loved ones and those impacted by that caregiving. And it's just not you who are providing the care and the person who's receiving the care. The impact, unfortunately, is much greater. As I'm sure several of you who are already in this sandwich generation, providing care for a loved one who needs it, whether it be because of a chronic condition like Parkinson's or some other situation in their life. You get overwhelmed trying to do everything all at once, struggling to find time for yourself. I mean, if you're spending 20 hours a week caring for your kids and 20 hours a week caring for a parent and 40 hours a week working for a job, when's my time? When's my time? Having a hard time staying focused, feeling overwhelmed, balancing those relationships between a spouse and who you're caring for, a parent, and the kids, and coping with family dynamics. One of the challenges, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, is if there's more than one person involved in making decisions about care besides the caregiver and the care receiver, then there's often family dynamics involved. Sisters and brothers who maybe disagree on what mom or dad need or don't need, or a spouse who doesn't need care yet, but certainly has a big say in what kind of care is needed or provided for their spouse or partner. This sandwich generation is mostly adults between 40 and 49, because again, they're still raising kids at home, and they've got now parents that are aging that they're helping. Could be up to about 23% of all adults. So, just thinking about that, even if I'm not in the sandwich generation, 1 in 4 adults that I know maybe, and they may be dealing with some of these stressors and challenges that are listed here. So what's some ways to reduce those stressors and challenges? Well, it starts before caregiving even starts, hopefully. And even if you're already providing care for a loved one and you haven't done some of these things, you can still go back and do them. And it'll make the care more effective and make your life a little less stressful. But if it's early in the diagnosis, say, and they don't really need a lot of personal care help yet, that's the time to have the conversation about caregiving. Inventorying what are their needs? What are they doing for each other, especially if you have both parents still living together? What are they doing for themselves? And based on what you're learning about the progression of what's going on with their health, what might they need in the future? And making a list, writing it down. Might be help with laundry, vacuuming, cooking, drives. Maybe they're getting to the point where they might not be driving on their own anymore. Errands, running, transportation. And then having a conversation with them about care. And I'm sure for those of you that have had those conversations, sometimes they don't want to accept that they need help. They don't want to bother you. They don't want to spend the money on care, but they also don't want to be an imposition. They want to remain independent. They want to keep driving. So having that conversation, we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail in a couple of moments. Once you've had that conversation and inventory what their needs are, writing out a care plan, actually writing down who's going to help them with what. And don't try to take it on all yourself, right? Hopefully you have more than one person who's able to participate in their care plan. If you try to take it on all yourself, then those stressors that we talked about in a few minutes are just going to exacerbate. And communicate those roles with other family members or other support groups. It might be friends in the neighborhood, might be people from their church who are willing to do a piece of it. And decide who's going to do what roles they're going to have, and be able to have that down in a care plan. So everybody knows what everybody else is doing. And most importantly, the one who is accepting the care, who is needing the care, knows what's going to be done and by whom. That collaborative approach will help reduce a lot of those stressors. So, as we mentioned, sometimes parents don't want to accept care, don't think they really need it yet. We're going to talk about some signs to indicate that they may need help at home, especially if they're living by themselves, either because they're divorced or widowed, or if both of them are together, but one of them is starting to need more care than the other can handle. You might go in the yard of the house, lacks upkeep, just not as good and neat and clean as it used to be, uncharacteristically cluttered or disorganized or dirty. There's a stack of unpaid bills that you had never seen before. They're in their personal hygiene and attire are kind of disheveled or unclean. You go in the refrigerator and there's hardly any food in there. There's some kind of change in their mood, or they've lost interest in different hobbies and activities. Or if they forgot to take medication or get their prescriptions filled. They have some kind of unexplained bruising, which could indicate that they've fallen. They sometimes fall and they don't even tell you. And if they become more forgetful, missing appointments, or if they've noticeably gained or lost weight recently, those are all good signs that, hey, it's time to have a conversation with them about getting some help from the family. So those sometimes can be tough conversations. I've been in a few with family members who know their parents don't want help and they just want a little support for that conversation. Very important to lead with love. Very important to meet when they're comfortable. Ask open-ended questions. Listen more than you talk. Share some resources that they might be able to look at, whether it's brochures or pamphlets. Focus on their quality of life. One of the things I'll often share with people who are a little resistant to getting care is this whole idea is actually to keep you independent. You're not losing independence, but by providing this care, by helping you with certain activities of daily living, or just simply things around the house like laundry or cooking meals, we help you maintain your independence and stay in your home comfortably and safely for as long as you want to. One of the things is try to avoid preconceived notions where you go in with your ideas of what you want to get done, what you think they need help with, and not necessarily let them collaborate with you and develop the plan together. Don't automatically assume they're going to resist everything. They might, but they might not. And sometimes you might want a third party for support. Sometimes one of the frustrations I hear from seniors is now my kids think they're the parents, right? And just like we resisted them when we were growing up, they resist us just because they think we're trying to take over. So sometimes whether it's a friend that's from their own age group that might agree that it's time to get them some help, a clergy member, even somebody from a home care agency, even if you're not going to use the home care agency, just as a care consult. If they're not willing to do that, then you shouldn't be using them. And some conversation starters. Hey, can I get your opinion on a couple things? Again, open-ended. I want to hear their thoughts. I've heard of a service that can cook lunch for seniors or make dinner for seniors. What do you think of this idea? Hey, Dad, I'm really worried about you falling. I've seen you trip a couple times. What can we do to help keep you safe? Because falling is a big risk at your age. Hey, can we spend a few minutes just jotting down some ideas about how we could get you some help in the house? I made some coffee or some tea. Let's sit down and talk. And just get the conversation started. Now, if they agree, yes, we need some help, then you make that care plan that we were talking about a few minutes ago and establish and maintain a routine. That is going to be helpful for you as a caregiver, as a family caregiver, and for them. So if you're going to, for example, say it's getting too much for mom to do the laundry, or dad to do the laundry. And so then you're going to come over every Wednesday evening and do laundry for them, is an example of a routine, right? If you're going to have to help them with their medicine, it's the same time every day, which is normally how medicine needs to take. But that also helps you plan it in your life to help reduce the chaos in your life and in theirs when they know when they can expect you to be there or any other member of the family that's part of that whole care team. Make sure you keep a medicine list so that everybody knows who's part of the care team, what they're supposed to be taking and when. And evaluate the home for safety. Look for things that could be trip hazards. The rugs, the little decorative scatter rugs that could slide on the floor very easily, that could trip them up. Extension cords that aren't up against the wall or hidden, that may be a fall hazard or trip hazard, or any kind of clutter, especially around stairs. And then you constantly have to evaluate the home for safety when you go over there, because sometimes you'll say, wow, Dad, this is really a trip hazard, this big extension cord you have going over here to connect your TV on the opposite wall. Oh, all right, I'll move it. And then they don't move it. And then acknowledging that care context. I was talking about this a little bit earlier about their cultural context and how much care it is and how sensitive the care is. There's a difference between having to go over and help cook them meals because they're not eating healthy or eating right, or skipping meals, or help them with medicine because they're forgetting to take their medicine, and having to help them with a shower or help them with toileting issues. And being sensitive to their feelings about that, especially if they're from a different culture than you are. Now, there's going to be challenges. If you're in the sandwich generation and you're caring for kids and for a parent, it's going to have an impact on those kids, no doubt. There's going to be all kinds of impacts, from jealousy of your time to maybe acting out to gain your attention. And let's not forget a spouse or partner or girlfriend or boyfriend who may also have some feelings like your attention for them is now split too thinly. Certainly impact on your parents. As we mentioned before, they don't, a lot of times, very common, where they don't like their kids becoming like their parents. So being sensitive to that, and one of the things we teach our caregivers that's great for family caregivers is always asking before we do something, always telling them what we're going to do before we do something, and making sure it's okay. I'm gonna touch you now so I can help you get up and down from the chair. Is that okay? Rather than just grabbing them, because you know they want to get up, help me up, and you just grab them. And letting them know how you're going to touch them and where you're going to touch them to do whatever it be. Being sensitive to that, the impact it has on their ego and self-esteem. And then many sandwich generations work as well. As we mentioned, they're doing 20 hours a week helping the kids, 20 hours a week helping the parents, and 40 hours a week trying to have a career or more. So what does that do at work? Are you open with the people at work, especially your supervisors, your leaders? Do they know that you're also caring for a parent? Open communication is better. At least I feel so. And finding ways to care for yourself. You say, well, if I'm working 40 hours for work and 40 hours caring for kids and parents, where do I have time for myself? It could be 15 minutes is all you get, but 15 minutes you make sure you take every day. And maintaining those roles and boundaries. There's there's a challenge in being both a care provider and a son or a daughter, and be able to have time with your parents, if that's the one you're caring for, where you can be just the daughter or just the son. Or if it's you're caring for a spouse. Now I'm their caregiver, but when do I get just to be their lover, their husband, their boyfriend, their partner? And having some time in maintaining both roles and having boundaries where during this time I'm in this role and somebody else can do the care providing. Now, there's a care continuum, especially with chronic conditions. As we know with Parkinson's, it's progressive. We can slow it down. Everybody moves at different paces, but it's progressive. So what is that care continuum? What do we do when they need more care? Oh, we need a break. I was surprised to learn that only 2.3% of seniors live in nursing homes. Because when I talk to seniors, a lot of times that's the thing they want to avoid at all costs. I don't want to go in a nursing home. And so if it's only 2.3% of all seniors, most people stay at home. And they don't go to nursing homes. They might go to other types of senior living communities, which we'll talk about. So aging at home options. Certainly the biggest and most common is the family caregiving. Often it's the most common because it's the easiest, it's the most convenient, so often thought of as the most cost effective. Although there's certainly more costs than just money. The cost on the family, on the spouse, or the partner, on the job. So as we were just talking about, but that by far and away is usually where we start. Sometimes when that's been going on for a while, the family caregiver can get a little burned out, a little overwhelmed, as we talked about. And they haven't found time to take time for themselves, and they need it. And that's where respite care comes into place. Respite care is having somebody else come in, might be just for twice a month, to give me a 4-hour break on a Saturday afternoon or a Friday night, so I maybe can go out on a date night with my spouse or partner. Or let me get a weekend getaway, but I'm afraid to leave mom or dad home alone, but I need to get away for the weekend. So I might do that twice a year, and that's the only help I need. Sometimes you can get another family member who's not normally in the care plan to help with that. Sometimes you might need to hire somebody to help with that. Or it might be time for a professional home care. There could be adult daycare options as things progress, and if you're still working and mom or dad can't be really alone, and you don't want to have somebody or you find adult daycare can be a little bit less expensive than having a professional home care provider be with them all day while you're at work. That's an option. And all the way till getting hospice at home, till the end, being able to keep them in the house. Some other options on the senior living community, there's from going from my kind of independent, I have to take care of my own house place, to an adult 55 plus community that often where the seniors have to do a lot less to maintain the property. Just their own individual dwelling, to independent living communities, which they do even less. but you still uh, get to have a lot of independence, and assisted living communities where there's CNAs and personal care assistants who can help them with some of those activities of daily living. In an independent living community, usually you still do not need help with those activities of daily living, those personal care items. And memory care facilities, if that's a challenge, or dementia's a challenge, as does happen sometimes with Parkinson's. Finally, the skilled nursing facilities or nursing homes and hospice care at a hospice house. A lot of things to think about. Hopefully, many of you are in the early stages where you can set yourself up and your loved one for success, for safely living at home, comfortably, independently, for as long as they want to. I'll finish up with saying that we can offer help, or agencies like ours can offer help. There are usually where people will start with is respite care. At SYNERGY HomeCare, we have very flexible scheduling. We have several clients that only use us once in a while, don't even have a regular weekly schedule. They just kind of call us when they need us. I need a Friday night off next week. No, don't call us on Friday morning, but they just use us once in a while. We've got some families that use us for weekend getaways 2 or 3 times a year. We have no minimum hours required. Some home care agencies do have a minimum number of hours they require per shift or per week. We don't have any. We have some that we have one lady whose husband has Parkinson's, who she just wants to get out of the house. She doesn't really want to leave him alone anymore. She just wants to get out of the house to go play bridge with her friends a couple times a week. So we go there twice a week for 4 hours so she can play bridge. And that's her getaway. That's her me time. We don't require any upfront deposit. All of our caregivers are, of course, insured and bonded, fully vetted with background checks, criminal records check, driver's license check. We have care professionals, home health aides, and certified nursing assistants, CNAs. And we have a wide variety of services for ongoing professional home care, whether it's they just need some help around the house with laundry and housekeeping and groceries and meal preparation, medicine reminders. But I can't do it. My schedule is too overwhelmed and I can't do it, or I need help at least a couple days a week. And we can have companion or homemaker services, or helping with all those activities of daily living that we talked about with personal care. We have temporary recovery care where if they get a hip replacement or knee replacement surgery or a broken bone, and they just need help for a few weeks while they're recovering. They don't need help now, and they're not going to need help after they recover. We absolutely can step in for 1, 2, 3 weeks, whatever they need, and help them at home, recover at home where they're more comfortable. We help with memory care, not only for personal care, but also in exercise and health and wellness, but also brain fitness activities to help slow down the progression of dementia. Disability care and chronic condition care. We have several clients that are near and dear to my heart that are, in fact, one of our very first clients since we've opened, is still with us, is somebody living with Parkinson's. So we're very familiar with that. I'm happy to take any questions. That's all I've got in terms of presentation or notes. My name's Ken Gregson with SYNERGY HomeCare here in Bradenton.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Let's leave this screen up in case anybody wants to take a look at your information there. And in the meantime, if anybody out there has questions for Ken, this is the time to ask them. since we can't see you, it's a webinar, we can't see you if you put your hand up, you are going to need to go put your question in the Q&A bubble at the bottom of the Zoom screen. If you take a minute to do that, Kenneth will be able to answer any questions. And you know what? That was such a comprehensive presentation about the sandwich generation. This is a real phenomenon going on right now.
It
So many
is.
of, yes, so many people are not only caring for children in their life still, but their parents or another loved one in their family. So very,
And
very, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, by the way, for those listening, um, anybody can get this a PDF of this presentation with that actually has a lot more detail in it. Our sandwich generation family caregiver guide. If they just email me, I'll be happy to email them the PDF version.
Oh, good. That's really great to know. Lots of people like that to have it in their hands. Yep.
So,
So go ahead and email Kenneth if that's something that you need. A couple takeaways that I kind of took a note on was I love that you added the common terms and definitions. I don't know, we just had a little bit of a Zoom glitch there. I
yep,
like that you added the terms and definitions into this because a lot of times it's hard to navigate, what does all this mean in the senior living world? And, you know, ADLs, sometimes people are hearing that for the first time as they're dealing with somebody who has a chronic illness. So glad you added that. Another thing I really liked was the 10 signs that your parent might need help. Now,
yeah,
this is just so important. I hear this so many times in our community with adult children who live out of state, who come in for the holidays or for a seasonal visit,
yeah,
and then they're like, oh my gosh, mom or dad or aunt so and so looks, awful, or something's going on, or they're not moving like they used to, or their cognition is a little off. So sometimes it does take that person who's not in the day to day life. Like if you're the day to day
right,
care partner, and you're the day to day caregiver, sometimes you may not even see things as
yeah.
clearly as the outsider who's visiting. So pay attention to those things because those signs are so important to catch things early and to make sure that you are doing all the things, doing all the things that you can do to live the best quality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you see them, like I said, what we hear from several, it's often like you mentioned, a child who's from out of town comes in, they see, oh no, it looks like they need help. They see some of those signs that we were talking about, but then it's how do I have that conversation, or I try to have the conversation, and they say, no, I'm fine, I'm fine. Don't
Yeah.
worry about me. And so we've heard from a lot of those kids
Yeah.
that come in for, especially just recently over the last month, because they, like you said, they come down for the holidays
Yeah.
and they call us and say, I think mom needs some help. And
Yeah.
sometimes, and we'll go and let, one of the things, like I mentioned, is we have a free, no obligation care consult. And so we'll go and even if they don't sign up with us, and we'll, to help them with that conversation with mom and dad. Um, and where some other agencies don't like to do that. If you're not going to use our services, they're not going to go do a care consultation. Uh,
Exactly. Exactly. Now, do you work with any VA benefits that might come through?
Unfortunately not. The VA right now is oversaturated with providers in Manatee
Mm-hmm.
County, so they're not taking on any new providers.
Mm-hmm.
I do give a discount. I'm a veteran myself, and I do give a discount to veterans,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't work with VA benefits right now.
Sure, sure. And how about like long-term care insurance? Is that, I'm
Long-term
sorry,
care
you might have
insurance.
covered it and I didn't catch it.
No, I didn't mention that. We definitely take it. We have somebody who's an expert who files claims with them every single week with many different companies that handle it. So yeah, we definitely take long-term care insurance.
All right. Well, let's see. Q&A bubble is empty, no questions, which that's usually a good sign because it means that you were very thorough in your presentation and no one really needs to clarification. Um, But so I guess we could end it here.
All
Again,
right.
take a little screenshot, those of you out there with your cell phones, if you want Ken Gregson's information here, if you're, and even if you're not just in Bradenton, they serve a lot of different areas. So give them a call, find out how you can get started with some type of home health care, respite, or just understanding and navigating a little bit more about this long-term care journey. So thank
All
you
right.
very much, Kenneth. It
Thank
was
you
a
so
pleasure.
much. It was a
And
pleasure spending time with you.
you guys have a great day. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.